Did you miss us? We missed you. We're going to be trying some new things here at the Playmakers blog, podcast, wrestling edition. And one of those things will be offsetting some stuff so we can make sure that we cover things the right way and the strong way, and for some of you that prefer, the long way. With that being said, we're going to get into a lot of things that have happened over time. We're going to talk about some TV. We're going to talk about some Hell in a Cell outlook. And we're going to talk about how in the hell we're all going to adjust to all this content. WWE on Monday, Impact on Tuesday, WWE FS1 programming on Tuesday, NXT and AEW on Wednesday, Beyond Wrestling and NXT UK on Thursday, 205 Live, SmackDown, and all your college football goodies on Friday, and NXT TakeOver every now and again, and college football on Saturday, NFL primetime games and marquee matchups, along with WWE pay-per-views on Sunday. Then you do the whole damn thing again with Raw and Monday Night Football on Monday. It's a lot to get through. But like this intro, it's going to be long. And it's going to be an adjustment. But you just sit back and relax, because we're going to tell you how to deal with it. Put on that YouTube video, grab that snack, and drink whatever you like to drink, maybe a little bit of bubbly, and enjoy this week's edition of the Playmakers Blog Podcast, Wrestling. Everything going on in college football and the NFL, and the blast to the finish that we've had in WWE, we kind of forgot Darnell. By the way, how are you doing, Darnell? You're always with me. Darnell, the Playmaker Songs. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic.
You know, Darnell, with everything, we forgot this was the end of an era.
Apparently so.
Like, the way that this has all been shaking out, and I didn't really realize it, Darnell, because I thought, hey, Becky Lynch is still, one of the top people. Seth Rollins has now escaped the clutch of Brock Lesnar. Different things for different times, because we still don't know how this card is going to shape out for Hell in a Cell. But, it kind of sort of seemed like it was just a lull. But then all this stuff comes out, all the people on Twitter pointing out things, pointing out how we started with Dean Ambrose and we ended with Kofi. And yeah, I think this is going to be like a new era. And I think that this will be the most blatant, this is a new era, deal with it, since the Ruthless Aggression era started. Because, the Attitude Era, it was WrestleMania 17.
And the fact that you say Ruthless Aggression era doesn't mean a bad thing, because Ruthless Aggression era was actually good.
Well, no, I don't mean it in comparing. I don't mean it in comparison. I mean it as far as when is the last time that we had a transition into a new era that was this blatant? Like when John Cena came out in those Speedos and Kurt Angle said, "What do you bring to the table?" And John Cena said, "Ruthless Aggression." That was basically the promo. That was the symbol that the Ruthless Aggression era had started. You had to go through the Alliance era. You saw Triple H getting awarded the belt when Raw didn't have a World Heavyweight Championship. But everybody says WrestleMania 17 was the end of the Attitude Era. WrestleMania 17 was a long time before you got
that. Was that a WrestleMania when NWO was there?
I think that was one where it was Hollywood versus The Rock. So maybe. It was Hollywood Hogan versus The Rock.
Yeah, that's when the NWO was there.
Yeah, but see, Darnell, think about it though. That was the end of the Attitude Era. If WrestleMania 21 was in 2005, that means that WrestleMania 17 was in 2000? No, it couldn't be, because WrestleMania 2000
was called WrestleMania 2000.
No, WrestleMania 2000 was the worst WrestleMania ever. WrestleMania X7 was something completely different. People say WrestleMania X7 is the end. So the Attitude Era wasn't even really that long, but that's my point. There was a lot of stuff that happened after what is traditionally considered the Attitude Era. Then you get to the Ruthless Aggression era, and you could tell, oh, this is different. Raw's new theme song, the raunchiness, the athleticism on SmackDown, the Ray versus Eddie angle. There wasn't as sharp as a shift as we're seeing now. It's one night, wild card rule, what the hell is going on, Kabuki Warriors versus Fire and Desire. What the hell is going to happen with either of those two teams? And then, bam, premiere week. New backstage show of flipping up the announce teams, going back to two-man booths, new logos. Like, I never saw a shift in eras like this sharp. Like, when the season premiere of Raw happens on Monday.
Oh, okay, I got it. Nope. WrestleMania 17 was when the famous Austin McMahon connection happened.
Yeah, because Stone Cold turning heel definitely ended it. Okay, yeah. All right. So which one was The Rock versus Hogan?
That was the following one, WrestleMania 18.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that definitely, thank you for doing that, because that actually made my point even more so. When Stone Cold turned heel, that definitely ended the Attitude Era, because one of the biggest facets of the Attitude Era was the war that Stone Cold and Vince McMahon were going through. So yeah, like when that moment happened, it was like, damn. But even still, you kind of didn't know what the next thing was. It was the Alliance era, and the Alliance era is kind of regarded as like a transitional era. Nobody really like talks about it as much. It was great content, Stone Cold whipping Taz with the belt and everything. But Darnell, what we're entering into seems to be like the culmination of a lot of things. It's almost like the last era, even though we had the Women's Revolution and the Evolution pay-per-view and women main eventing WrestleMania. It kind of feels like it was a rebuilding era. No true superstar came from this era unless you want to say Becky Lynch. I feel like Charlotte was going to be Charlotte no matter what. I think they made Charlotte before the Women's Revolution. So Becky Lynch is the only one you can really point to and say, yeah, that is a brand new superstar that like nobody was really checking for before this era. And now after this era, they're everywhere. Sports Center commercials, ESPN magazine covers, other magazine stuff too. Just go on her Twitter. She's advertising everything. But Darnell, let's go.
That Sports Center commercial is funny.
It is.
That's funny.
Yeah, bro. Like it's good, but that's the thing though. Like, dude, she's the one. She's really like the one. I feel like, Kofi Kingston won his world title in this era, but I think Kofi Kingston finally getting a shot to win a world title is a testament to how down this era was. Because when there was like quote unquote actual people in competition for creative to look at, dude, Kofi was never getting any shots. The fact that Kofi got hot was because like, dude, there was nobody else. So like, since we're leaving an era, apparently, Darnell, what's your biggest takeaway from the last era? Which I don't even know what it's called, to be real. What do we call that era?
I don't even know. I think all I knew was the men's promised a new era. So,
but that was last December. That means, Jesus, like they did a Dolphins rebuild if that's the case, because they took us through a whole year of just the same old stuff. Sans Kofi. But I mean, so like, what's your biggest takeaway though? Because apparently, it's still
even though you said what you said about the Kofi Kingston thing, it was still remarkable to see.
Yeah.
And it hasn't died, and it still hasn't died.
Oh, dude, it's never gonna die. Like that's the first.
Now it is gonna die next Friday, most likely.
Oh well, I mean, yeah. But dude, like, let's think about it though, because like that's probably where we should take it. I mean, if you're talking like sentiment, it's Kofi. If you're talking like impact, though, it's probably the women main event in WrestleMania. But going to Kofi first, he's probably the first and only like African-born champion we're ever gonna get. Like, people do the argument with The Rock and everything as far as first African-American champion goes. And then you could go to the Booker T and Mark Henry win the World Heavyweight title thing, and that's a debate that we're all tired of having. That's a debate that we all tired of having, because I remember the Twitter spats and I remember the whataboutifs and the technicalities, and Darnell is a lost cause. But dude, when it comes to Kofi,
ain't Ron Simmons the first one?
That was WCW. We're talking about WWE Championship. Yeah, like if you want to talk about first Black World Heavyweight Champion, it is Ron Simmons. For R-Truth is the only one to this day to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He's also the only one by default to win it multiple times. He won it twice back in the early 2000s. But the thing is, Kofi, when it comes to WWE and just the way that Vince books black people, the way that they don't really have a lot of character diversity with black people, Kofi might be the only one. And for him to win it, being from Ghana, and it's like the year of return, so he was able to go back to Ghana and do that thing. Like, yeah, they used it as PR, and they filmed it as this whole sentimental thing to get him over as like the underdog babyface. But dude, like, the sentiment should not be lost. Like, out of any country, he could have been from any of the 54 independent countries in Africa. But he's from the one country that has the right of abode law. He's from the one country that's been like actively engaging with the diaspora. And he went back after he won the WWE Championship. When you're talking about like sentiment, and like when we look back, everybody wanted to be a dick and wanted to be like technical and blah, 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 and contrarian and unpopular opinion. But like, no, it's going to be like the huge takeaway. Now, if you're talking about what everybody would probably agree with, because, you know, the way that social media is nowadays, Darnell, we had 3 women main event WrestleMania. Like, women main evented the biggest wrestling show on the planet.
Matter of fact, I'm glad you said it, because you named this era several times, and it just came back to me. You called this the women's era.
I don't know if that's going to go down as the official name, but that's basically what it was. Like, I said it time and time again, because it was like, if the light bulb hadn't gone off in the last era, that era was about the women and that it wasn't about the men's storylines and everything, people just wanted to be frustrated. They were doing it to themselves. But I mean, I feel like they won't go with that name officially because it's just too easy of a name. It's too, hey, so what happened in that one era between 2016 and 2019? Oh, that was the women's era. They had their own pay-per-view. They had their own Royal Rumbles. They had a WrestleMania main event. They had a woman in the last year of the era make the cover of WWE 2K. Charlotte broke Trish's record. I mean, what can you say? What can you do? But I mean, with that all being said, Darnell, this last week of TV, I mean, I kind of know. I feel like SmackDown, I think they glossed over it. I don't think SmackDown really, like, you know, made us remember. I don't think SmackDown really drove the point home that, like, that was the last episode on USA. That was the last episode of an era. And it's like, instead of that being the last episode of an era on USA, it was basically just a, dare I say, filler. Got Charlotte in a tag team match and not really caring, even though she's supposed to be a babyface, just watching her partner get tapped out. You got Kabuki Warriors versus Fire and Desire.
Wait. You got to go back to, yeah, Charlotte didn't care, but who came out at the end of it?
But that's the thing, Darnell. That's my point. Like, that's my point. Becky Lynch is still the Raw Women's Champion. We know that the first episode of SmackDown on Fox, they're going to go balls to the walls and go all out. But Darnell, Hell in a Cell is going to happen after the draft.
Before the draft.
SmackDown.
Before the draft.
Oh, it's on the 6th?
Yes.
Dude, that's even worse. That's actually even worse, because it's like, okay, so you mean to tell me, bear with me here, Darnell, bear with me here, because Nikki's facing Charlotte.
Real quick here. So we are talking about, if what I'm looking at is correct, 178 episodes on USA or SmackDown.
Dude, there's like series. There's like full pilot to series finale series that don't make it 178 episodes. That is my point. Like, the SmackDown this week was a filler for SmackDown on Fox next week. And if I was an exec at USA, I would be like, hey, can you act like you gave a little bit more of a damn? Just a little bit more of a damn. Well, we gave you NXT. What are you crying for? I mean, damn. Like, that's your developmental brand. That's your minor league brand. And you're doing that to compete with somebody's best offering. You could at least, not promote Fox every 5 minutes on our network. But, you got to do what you got to do. But my point, and I understand what your sentiment between the Becky Lynch coming out thing. But my whole point with that is like, hey, you're going to have Hell in a Cell. And bear with me here, because Bailey's facing Charlotte, right?
They never said who Bailey was facing.
Okay, so right now Bailey doesn't have a match, and that's another thing that's going to be very tricky with all this stuff moving forward. Full disclosure, everybody, we're actively trying to figure out how the hell to do this, because they spread everything out to where it's like literally every other day. But Bailey doesn't have a match yet. Bailey's whole thing has been, she's the SmackDown Women's Champion, but right now she's Sasha's tag team partner / cannon fodder.
Which is funny because it's to believe that it's going to be another Charlotte Bailey match at Hell in a Cell. At the same time, though, ain't Sasha and Bailey feuding with the women's tag team champions at the same time?
And that's the point I'm getting to, Darnell. Hypothetically, when you're women's tag team champions, you can go on any brand because that's not a brand specific title. They don't have enough tag teams to make it a brand specific title. But what I'm getting at here is Sasha is back and you turned Bailey heel. Let me say that again, Darnell, so that can marinate with some people. Sasha came back and you turned Bailey heel. I'm
going to say this again. She's supposed to be heel, but nothing about Bailey feels heelish.
Well, that's because you're not looking in the right places. Like, actually look at Bailey and look at this era when it comes to what do you expect them to do with Bailey? You want them to let her hair down? You want her to wear black all the time? You want her music to change? Darnell, do you remember when Kurt Angle first debuted? Do you remember the character Kurt Angle had when he was a heel in the Attitude Era?
Yes, I actually do.
Okay. Drink your milk, eat your vitamins, amateur wrestling, the 3 eyes, all that good stuff. Now, when you look at the Kurt Angle character and you know absolutely nothing about pro wrestling and you're just a fan who's watching TV and you're looking at Kurt Angle, your first impression of him is, that little goody two-shoes guy is very, very annoying. I wish somebody would punch him in the face. Then somebody punches him in the face and you're happy. That was Kurt Angle's heel character. He was so much of a baby face, he was annoying and he irked you and you wanted somebody to just clock him. And you were happy when they did. Bailey is still Bailey. That's true. But there have been characters in the past that are her template. She's basically working off the Kurt Angle and the Attitude template right now. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it's kind of easy to see.
I hear what you're saying. I guess it's not doing it for me.
That's fine. That's fine. It doesn't have to do it for you because doing it for you doesn't affect the main point that I'm about to make. You're an example probably was turning her heel. Turning Bailey heel would have basically been the equivalent of trying to turn John Cena in the height of the PG era heel. I mean Superman John Cena, not bootleg Marine John Cena. Trying to have Superman John Cena be a heel is basically what you would be getting with Bailey right now, which is why they never pulled the trigger. The fact that they pulled the trigger with Bailey in the middle of one of her title runs shows that they are heavily invested with whatever this thing is. It would be dumb to turn Bailey heel, have her beat down Becky, have her be Sasha's lackey and doing all this heel tag team partner stuff with Sasha for only have been for a couple of weeks. Again, we don't know who Bailey is going to face at the pay-per-view. We just know that Sasha left. because of the way they had to lose the tag team titles and who they lost it to. And she ended up being right, 100% correct. They put that tag team back together almost instantly in the middle of a singles title run that Bayley has. So you're basically saying that before a brand split, we're going to have a pay-per-view with brand exclusive championships on the line. What are the chances that Sasha beats Becky and then they split up the Bayley tag team again? It's not working for a lot of people right now. But it damn sure ain't going to work if Bayley has to develop this new character on her own without Sasha. Because now you're going to have to overbook and over-explain how these two got a tag team championship match when they can't even tag together because they're on different shows.
I will say this. Sasha's supposed to be a heel, but I think the fans don't care because it's Sasha Banks.
Again, that goes back to this isn't just WWE. This is the whole wrestling landscape in general. Bullet Club has never been a babyface stable, ever. The fans just cheer for them because they like them. The Rock and Stone Cold didn't start off as babyfaces. They started off as heels, but they just got cheered so much, Vince ran with it. You're supposed to be a heel first anyway. You're supposed to debut as a heel, beat up people, learn how to get heat, blah, 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 then slowly convert to a babyface. That's why Xavier Woods petitioned so hard for the New Day to be heels, because he kind of sort of knew that them starting off as babyfaces was only going to lead to disaster. The man put his career on the line to convince Vince McMahon to turn Kofi Kingston heel, and it worked. Now, Bayley seemed to be a pure babyface, which is probably why her being a heel isn't conveying to you as effectively. But still, we have a draft coming up.
Are they hard draft? Does it emphasize a hard draft?
Yeah, like after this draft, no more wild card rule, which is again why I'm emphasizing this so much. Why I've spent 6 minutes on this. Like, this is one of the biggest things that you have going into the new era. Because I can tell you right now, we all think Brock's going to beat Kofi. If you were to run a poll right now, it's going to be like a 99%.
That's not my question, though. My question when it comes to the WWE Championship, would it be a rematch of Hell in a Cell?
I mean, that goes back to the even bigger question, Darnell. Brock Lesnar wins his championship. It's going to be the same old Brock Lesnar? Or is Fox going to pony up that money to convince him to be on TV more often? Because there's never been an issue with Brock Lesnar being on TV. He'll show up if you pay that extra per show fee. You're going to open up a new era. You're going to open up your Fox tenure with a part-time champion. I mean, the rematch will be 2 days later, but we got to think, Darnell, think about it.
I mean, we've been sitting here to WrestleMania trying to figure out who would be the correct person to do it. And like from the get-go, either you say Brock Lesnar or did I say Brock Lesnar?
I don't know. One of us said Brock Lesnar.
Because we knew he had the money in the bank briefcase.
And then they have Brock Lesnar cash in. And here's another reason why we know he's going to beat Kofi. Dude, they had him cash in the Brock Lesnar, the Money in the Bank contract against Seth, then lose it in a month back to Seth. They can't have Brock have that kind of run in the same year. There's not so much as Kofi going to get a rematch at Hell in a Cell. Is he going to be able to have the rematch at Hell in a Cell? Because think about how they're going to have to portray this championship victory. First of all, if Brock isn't the one to beat Kofi, who the hell is going to beat Kofi? Because now you're talking about Survivor Series, champion versus champion. Then you're talking about the Royal Rumble, which is the WrestleMania push. Go ahead and skip TLC, because why would they do such a monumental victory at TLC right before the Royal Rumble? So, dude, like, this is going to happen. There's going to be a world title change on SmackDown on a Friday night to compete with college football and, high school football and whatever the hell else people will be doing on that Friday night. This is going to be their way of trying to compete and keep people inside the house on a Friday night. But what's the long term of this? Because you can't have Brock lose it in a couple days. Then that's going to piss off Brock.
Yeah. What if Kofi win and they have to rematch at Hell in a Cell?
You gotta think. I mean, let's be real about it, Darnell. Premiere on Fox. Fox has been heavy on WWE's ass as far as content and ratings and everything since they announced that $2 billion deal. Fox has been heavily involved as far as micromanaging and business matters are concerned. If you're Vince, yeah, you announced Brock. Yeah, you announced the WWE title match. Hell, you announced a ladder match between Kevin Owens and Shane, which was supposed to happen at the freaking pay-per-view. So you've announced.
And with somebody getting fired.
But you know, in a second, we're going to get to that in a second. Quick second. Before I lose my train of thought. But dude, like, think about it. If you're Vince, you have a $2 billion contract on the line. Make Fox happy. Let Brock win and get that rating spike so you can have a good first impression. Or save the title change for something that's going to be on your network. Fox wants 3 million people minimum. The network has less than 2 million paid subscribers at any given time. There's no difference right now between the pay-per-view and the TV. They don't do different sets at the moment, even though they did say Power was going to come back. But right now, like, they're not doing different sets. They're meshing together everything because of the stupid wild card rule. There is nothing different from the pay-per-view and the TV except one is on the network. They have title retentions all the damn time. They have telegraphed like results and stuff from like a month out. Like, there's nothing different right now, Darnell. You're gonna have more of a reach if you have that title change on Fox and DVRs and playbacks than you would with the nobody's gonna watch the network back after the pay-per-view, after they see Brock beat Kofi. They're gonna say, oh, well, what y'all think was gonna happen? But if they see a world title change on TV, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-minute squash. The WWE Championship changed hands on the B show. That's major. Just from the business perspective, it's like, dude, it doesn't really make any sense for the rematch to be 2 days later and then for Brock to win. Who's going to see it? But, you know, as you alluded to a couple minutes before, Darnell, that's another reason why me and you are trying to work so hard to figure out how we're going to do this recording schedule. I could have swore. Maybe I heard wrong. Please help me. Didn't Kevin Owens during that promo that they cut short because they had to go backstage and watch Becky get jumped before the Hard Out? Didn't they make that ladder match for the pay-per-view?
And be honest, I thought it was going to be a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, dude, the way they were going. And then Kevin Owens did the whole, since our lives are literally hanging in the balance. I was like, oh, well, I mean.
Because I was saying, like, they're not going to do three Hell in a Cell matches.
Even though the pay-per-view is named Hell in a Cell.
Well, I was like, you talking about end of an era.
But again, it's like.
But it's not that you always say. Card subject to change. Maybe it was scheduled for the pay-per-view, but they matter figured, you know what? That 3 million rating that we need, let's go move it. And remember, Darnell,
this is still a 2-hour show. This is what I mean. Like, dude, think about it. They're gonna have to fit in a feud-ending match. At least, God, I hope this is the end of a feud. This is hopefully going to be a feud-ending ladder match. So you have that.
It has to be because somebody got to get fired.
Exactly. Then you're going to have Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. Like, I don't really know that. Are there any other matches announced for next week?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, what are they?
Well, it's on surprise you ain't get to when you was talking about Becky Lynch. The 4 horsewomen are in a tag team match. Okay,
whatever. What else besides that?
I think that's all.
Okay, so all right, let me entertain that.
Let me say there's a 3 in the marquee matches.
Okay, so I'll entertain it for the sake of it. For the sake of it, I will entertain that. Like, I'm supposed to be excited for it because they just gave it away on Raw a couple weeks ago, where a champion got pinned by the only person in the ring who wasn't hot at the moment. Charlotte had to just pin the champion. She didn't pin Sasha because Sasha just came back and she was hot. Becky can't lose because she's Becky. So for whatever reason, Bayley, who was the SmackDown Women's Champion, who was also the last horsewoman to debut, had to eat a natural selection to get pinned by Charlotte, who surely has to win every match or else her stock falls. That's why they probably made it to where she didn't care about the tag team match with Carmella, because it's like, what do I care about this for? It's not me losing. So
she's still a heel.
Yeah, which is even weirder because they have her they have her working as a face, but still being heel Charlotte. By working as a face, I mean she's the one garnering the heat. She's the one taking more of the hits, being susceptible to tricks, having to overcome certain things and trickery and outside interference and blah, blah, blah. But again, this is why the hard draft is going to fix this, Darnell, because Bayley still seeming like a face, even though she's a heel, and Charlotte still seeming like a heel, even though in this feud she's a face. That is the perfect example how the wild card rule has gone on for too long. So I'll pretend that I'm excited for this match, but what?
No, you gotta be real.
I mean, but no, for the sake of this, I'll pretend because for the sake of the scenario, we have a pay-per-view coming up 2 days after this match takes place. Bayley still doesn't have an opponent. And now we ain't gonna know who her opponent is because, all right, so WWE now has to wait that much longer before setting up Bayley's championship match.
It's going to be Charlotte.
It doesn't make sense at this point. That's the only person she's been facing. But Darnell, let's think about it. WWE has this really lazy habit of announcing matches over Twitter. This week, however, again, I'm not talking from the wrestling standpoint. So before any grizzled vets listen to this podcast, I'm just talking from the strict business standpoint. I'm talking about what's going to get reach, what's going to get ratings, what's going to make Fox happy. Darnell, announcing Bayley versus Charlotte over Twitter when you have technically it's a series premiere of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, that would be a very bad move. Going into this episode on Fox, you shouldn't telegraph anything but the marquee matches you're promoting to get people to watch. You shouldn't telegraph any major announcements, any upsets, none of that. Any surprises you have should be announced and happen in that 2-hour window that Fox gave you. With that being said, we're walking into a match 2 days before a pay-per-view where Charlotte doesn't have a match, Bayley doesn't have a match, and Sasha and Becky have a match, and they're tagging against each other.
Inside Hell in a Cell.
Exactly. Okay, so we know the rule, Darnell. If Sasha gets one over Becky, you can watch the match if you feel like it, but heel wins before the pay-per-view, babyface wins. Babyface beats the heel, comes in strong, heel makes a point. At least that's how WWE does it. Momentum into a pay-per-view is almost always a bad thing in WWE.
And then again, we gotta go back to the women's tag team because if I remember correctly, on the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, Alexa is facing Sasha.
Mm-hmm.
So this rivalry is going to continue.
And that's the thing. It doesn't have to stop once the draft happens because tag teams. All that has to happen is Bayley and Sasha got to be on the same show. If Bayley and Charlotte have a match on Sunday, pencil in Charlotte winning 11. Or is it 10? Okay.
It would be 10.
Pencil in Charlotte winning 10. We're not going to count the... Wait, has Charlotte won it? Yeah, Charlotte... No, has Charlotte ever won the briefcase? Okay, so yeah, it's 10.
No.
It's just 10, even with technicalities. So, dude, Bayley and Sasha, what they're doing right now, the reason why Sasha damn near quit, I say just let Sasha have it, because while Sasha was gone, what happened to your women's tag team division anyway? It's very weird for a premier wrestler to want to build up the tag division and be so passionate about a tag team championship. But you know what? Hey, main eventers, main event, mid-carders, mid-card, and then the core of your roster, they're supposed to get people over. Sasha wants to get people over and build a division from scratch, by all means. Because that joint was looking shitty when the Iconics were champion. And I don't even think it was the Iconics' fault, sadly. I think they just didn't know what to do with the belts without Sasha there to have rematches with. So that's going to be a thing. So yeah, walking into that match, I'm not really as excited because they gave it to us already, Darnell. And they had Charlotte beat the only one that was a champion on the heel side. So yeah, Bayley, like Sasha and Becky, that's probably going to be their thing. And then, maybe it'll spill out. Maybe a brawl will happen. Maybe so much hatred will spew forth that Bayley will make the unfortunate strategic decision of challenging Charlotte to a title match at a pay-per-view, where Charlotte is like an amazing, isn't she like 40 and 2? She doesn't lose at pay-per-views, bro. Like, I think all her pay-per-view losses happened this year. Her pay-per-view record is absurd. So yeah, so that's that. But as you were talking about earlier, so I think they're saying this is a season premiere for Raw, because I could have swore that the season premiere was after WrestleMania ended, because I thought that WrestleMania was the bow for the entire year.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know Raw was capable of having.
Believe it or not, they have been Raw and SmackDown have been doing seasons. There are seasons. I can't remember which season they're both on, but they have been doing that. That has been a thing. I just always thought the season finale was WrestleMania.
But I will say this though, they did plan that one out accordingly. I will give them that. They planned that out accordingly.
So
before I do what I want to do, as noted, Undisputed Era has
prophecy is fulfilled. We knew that was going to happen, right, Darnell? We knew it was just a matter of time.
NXT on USA Network has been phenomenal.
Brought in $1 million.
Just phenomenal. I like what they did, though. They gave you 1 hour for the 2 weeks, and they're going to switch it up next week.
That crack.
So, but I had to come back and watch on DVR the NXT 1 hour live on USA because I had to work as Dallas knew. And Adam Cole has a new challenger for next week. It's the bro.
Finally got rid of Killian Dane.
They redid the street fight from the previous week. When Riga upped the ante, though. As you also recall from last week, Candice LeRae won the main event to challenge Shayna Baszler. That would take place next week. And guess what, Dallas? 2 of your boys will be defending their titles. Because the 2 opponents they want the smoke. Undisputed Era and Street Profits will be going at it next week.
And this will be coming live from Orlando, Florida?
Oh, yeah. 3 title matches live.
I wish I had the gas and time to hop my happy ass down there. What is the cost of entry to get into Full Sail?
I have no idea. If I stayed in Orlando long enough, I would have.
It's weird because we're so close yet so far.
Dynamite, Dijakovic, and Keith Lee.
Vince is definitely going to change that. I'm surprised he hasn't changed it already. I know he doesn't care about NXT, but now that it's on USA, he is definitely going to change that.
He better not.
Who the hell is pronouncing that? Imagine writing down the toy. Can you fit that on the toy label?
I mean, you talking about the dude? His name?
It was Dominic Dijak on the Indies, probably for good reason, because whatever the hell, who's that deal was that?
Dijakovic.
But
it's not hard to say. Yeah, these guys will be matching. They could have been the whole first hour and nobody would have been mad. That match
is always good. They had a 5-star at PWG before they both came to WWE. That match is always money. That match is what they.
Keith did a moonsault on the middle rope. And Jacob kicked out. That Jacob returned the favor after doing, I forgot what move he did, and it was just like, oh my God, Keith Lee must be out. And then he did a moonsault, and Keith Lee kicked out. Not only did Keith Lee kicked out, he rolled over and picked him up.
I feel like TV does Keith Lee justice, but I don't think people understand how big Keith Lee is. And Dijak isn't a small man. He's just lean and cut up. But he's like 6'7". So I don't think people understand what that must look like in person, watching these two behemoths in a 10x10 ring doing moonsaults off of second ropes.
But Keith needed that win. So now we're 1-1 with a double count out. So expect more to come. I ain't catch the second hour of NXT on the WWE Network, but I did notice that on Twitter, thank Breezango teamed up with Kushida. So anybody that knew how that went out, go ahead and let me know, because after I watched that first hour, I went to sleep.
Well, you know these things happen.
So now that I got your NXT out the way, now I can get to the news that everybody knows, but everybody's been waiting on, stuff like this. Dallas, you're the one that's more of the wrestling type than me. So I'm gonna ask you this question, and you just can give me a yes or no answer. Will next week be something that you have dreamt of?
No.
Because a lot of people have. Your Monday night's gonna be about Monday Night Raw. Your Wednesday night's gonna be about AEW and NXT. Your Friday night's gonna be about Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. Not to mention you have a pay-per-view on Sunday. To be honest, you said that wrestling gonna be competing with other sports, right? Because I believe next Saturday, and college football is going to be very good to watch. I'm just going to put it like this. One of the key games, this is from the SEC. The Auburn Tigers and Florida Gators get together. I ain't even looked at the NFL schedule yet.
Oof.
So that would be interesting to see what else they going to be going up against. As a matter of fact, you can go ahead and find Dallas, because I'm gonna look at what's the Sunday night game for next.
All right, so real quick for everybody who's wondering more about the transition and wondering more about your content, because I know where you went with it, Darnell, but I'm actually the complete opposite. FS1 announced that Renee Young and Booker T are going to be hosting a WWE Backstage, a show called WWE Backstage, which is basically like the WWE Live, like, you know, how they have MMA Live and NFL Live and stuff like that. That's going to be WWE show on Fox. That's going to be airing on Tuesdays. Starting November 5th, it's going to be Tuesdays at 11 p.m., 8 p.m. Pacific.
Hey, that's my week.
That's what? For what?
That's my week.
Oh, hey, damn. Well, look at you getting all the content. So, like, real quick, because I feel like I want to be able to dedicate the proper amount of time to this discussion, because I feel like we have two different viewpoints, but I feel like both of our viewpoints are going to be well represented in the long run. So what did you want to say about the NFL schedule?
So, talking next week, right? Thursday Night Football, October 3rd. My Rams are at Seattle. That's Thursday night. The Ravens and Steelers get together for their first meeting on Sunday. The Cowboys and the Packers get together on Sunday, on that Sunday. Right now, your Sunday Night Football is the Colts and the Chiefs. And then your Monday Night Football is the Browns.
Okay, well, you'll probably choose Raw over that one. Depending on how things go, you might choose Raw for that one.
This is next week. There's a lot going on.
There is. And okay, so all right. So first of all, because I never wrestled, I ran track and played football. So I can tell you right now, that week of NFL football, not even getting into the college games, because I know you said some college games, but you know me, I'll watch college football literally the entire day. I don't care about half the NFL. So that NFL slate, though, is wildly interesting. I think the Chiefs game would have been way more interesting, and I think the reason why they scheduled that rematch is because they wanted to see Luck Mahomes again. But Brissett hasn't been bad. So that is a deep schedule, not even getting into the college schedule. That is why I have my perspective that
we not want to get into this college schedule.
Yeah, but no, this is the wrestling one. This is the wrestling one. So
ooh, y'all gotta wait till the college football.
Yeah, so first things first, Darnell. WWE alone, just WWE alone. This week, not even the first week of November, when they introduced the new programming on Tuesdays. This week, they're going to have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. AEW is going to be on Wednesdays, and I think their pay-per-views are usually on Saturdays. Impact, which is, TNA for name changes nowadays, is going to be on Tuesdays on Axis. I think WOW and NJPW, New Japan, those are on Axis on Saturdays. On Saturdays. Then, if you're into Lucha Libre, CMLL is on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. And I think AAA, they're on YouTube too, just like CMLL, so you can watch it damn near anytime you want. And then I'm not even getting to Ring of Honor, because Ring of Honor is syndicated, so you just check your local listings. But dude, like Darnell, I like how CM Punk and all the wrestlers are like, just be a fan. There's so much wrestling. There's wrestling on every day. This is the greatest time to be a fan. It doesn't have to be us versus them. You're right. It doesn't have to be us versus them. But Darnell, that's what it's going to end up being, because, hey.
Look, I'm just going to say like this. There are already people on Twitter that are already calling them Monday Night Wars.
And that's cool, because let them have what they think will compare to the Attitude Era. It won't, but let them go ahead and think that they have something that will go down in history, so that they can justify sitting through the PG era and the reality era or whatever this past era was. But Darnell, here's the thing: nobody's going to be purposefully pitting wrestling companies against each other. Because I'll tell you from my own personal perspective, bro, when I'm not working, I should be working. And when I'm working, I should be working on something else. I don't have the time to enjoy all the content that's coming out. The average person, whether they're married or not, kids or not, doesn't have the time to enjoy all the content. You can only binge watch and DVR so much. I mean, damn, like for example, Darnell, say you just catch WWE when it's on and you DVR everything else. So does that mean you're going to miss the pay-per-view on Sunday to watch the AEW and the Impact and the NJPW on Sunday? Like, do you just keep, when do you catch up?
It depends on what you got. And what I mean by that, if you're like me, you won't have that problem. Because I think from what they said, the live show that's going to be on USA Network would be able to watch on the network. So if you got the network and you just want to watch AEW on Wednesday and catch up on your NXT on Thursdays, you should be able to do that. But if you're like me, why I do everything I do for the Playmakers Blog podcast and church ministry stuff and working and customer service, sometimes I got to multitask. Which is why I have 2 TVs and so in most of you don't know, I'll be watching Sunday Night Football and Hell in a Cell at the same time.
Okay, but Darnell, do you realize everything that you really just said? What person who is not in the sports media, What person who is not as invested in keeping up with a diverse array of sports like you are is going to do all that work?
Like I said, that's why I opened up by
That's the
saying
thing that
if
we
you're
have to
like me.
realize. Like, a lot of people are not like us. From the business side on my end and from the sports media part on your end, like, a lot of people are not like us. The average person clocked in at 9 o'clock, clocked out at 5, had errands to do, got home at 6:30, has to wake up at 7 o'clock to do it all again. I mean, WWE, they're hyping up this premiere week. And they have new networks and new content and all this good stuff. But at the end of the day, Darnell, if they're kicking out the same shit they've been kicking out, ain't nobody about to waste their Friday night. Ain't nobody about to waste Bible study on Wednesday. Ain't nobody about to, forego catching up on all the stuff they actually binge watch all the time to catch up on WWE. Like, dude, if you're like us, where we just prefer watching sports over regular TV anyway, that's one thing. But there are a lot of shows out here. CW is basically living off of DC. CW must have some kind of like exclusive contract with DC to where DC just pays all they damn bills because they came out with yet another damn DC show. So if you're a comic book junkie, you have even more choices to make. DC makes too many damn comic book shows to finish the other comic book shows they got. I think Green Arrow's on season effing 18. That's finally ending. Like, there's and this is the difficulty of being a content creator. It's not even about competition in the market anymore, Darnell. Is there a possibility that WWE, once again, in their own special way, is going to mess up wrestling for the mainstream audience? Because they're going to be on, at times, Mondays, Saturdays, and there are going to be times where you have WWE 5 days a week. And that's not even including NXT UK when it moves to Thursdays. And that's not including 205 Live when they moved that to Fridays so it could still be taped after SmackDown.
As a matter of fact, I think they combined 205 with NXT.
They are, but they haven't officially canceled 205 yet. But they are putting 205 Live with the NXT roster to help for depth. But they haven't officially canceled it, so they're going to move 205 Live to Fridays so it could still be congruent.
Because I was tweeting with somebody saying they basically taking 2 1-hour shows and making it 1 2-hour show.
And that's probably going to be the move long term. That's less production costs and that's less travel. Because see, 205 Live has to travel with the SmackDown roster. Whereas if you combine 205 Live with NXT and just let NXT have the Cruiserweight title, you cut down on logistics a lot. And remember, these are independent contractors. So their pay scale to wrestle on 205 Live and be an exclusive Cruiserweight is not the same as everybody else in the main roster. Got to remember that. So, financial wise, I hope that's what they do. But that's the thing, though. They're like, look, this podcast is heavily WWE dominated. Damn near 100%. 99.97%.
No, 100% until next week because we're going to start AEW.
Oh, well, you have fun with that. We've been had AEW with the pay-per-views, but you have fun with that because this is like what I'm saying in this is what a lot of other people on the other half are going to say. Who has the time to truly keep up with all this? There's being a hardcore wrestling fan. There's being, dedicated to one promotion. There's being a junkie. And then there's just, dude, like, unless you're doing an exclusive wrestling podcast, unless you have your own exclusive wrestling site where, like, it brings in a second stream of income for you along with your day job, like, bro, we're talking 7 days worth of content across 4 major promotions. We went from it being weird to like wrestling in middle and high school and everybody calling WWE WWF to 4 or 5 major promotions that have spit out numerous household names being on American TV throughout the week. There is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
There's a lot of content coming. It's going to be interesting to see not only how we do it, but other podcasters out there and other medias handle all this that's coming.
I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people have made a career off of covering the NFL. There's a reason why a lot of people have become legendary reporters covering one team as their beat. Better to be a master of one than a master of none. And for everybody out there who's going to try to tackle every day's worth of content, hey, more power to you, because that is going to be a tall task.
That's why we going bi-weekly.
Yeah, some God bless them. Some people are going to have to go monthly because some poor souls are probably going to try to tackle everything. I know some right now that tackle basically everything but Mexico. Monthly. So, yeah. So, Darnell, any parting words?
Next week, it's gonna be fun for me because I get to be testing to see how much can I watch and what can I retain. Now the football stuff, that's easy because I can just write those down. You know how those ratings have to go. But Raw, flipping back and forth between AEW and NXT because I will be flipping back and forth. SmackDown and Hell in a Cell. Not to mention that not the week after that, we got to cover the draft.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the results of Hell in a Cell are really gonna influence that. So yeah, and we'll talk about that off air. But yeah, now that I think about it, I really feel for the people that are gonna try to cover Ring of Honor, New Japan, WWE, Impact, and AEW. Oh God, shit makes my head hurt just thinking about it. But well, everybody, don't let my cynicism and pessimism enjoy your good fun. If you have the time and the resources, if you have access, you have USA, if you have Fox, almost everybody should have Fox. But if you have the time and the mediums to watch this, if wrestling is your release from the kids and the wife or the husband, or whichever way you swing on the fence, hey, by all means, watch it all. Watch it all and tweet us and let us know what we're missing or what we should be watching if we can catch it. But hey, there's only one thing that's constant in this life, Darnell, and it's not death or it's not taxes. It's my hatred for the Tennessee Titans. Fuck them and fuck the city of Nashville. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.